What's up, guys? Welcome back to Very Good Garage. Today we're introducing the newest member of the Very Good Garage family, this 1994 Chevy Blazer. We hosed it down pretty good, but something you really want to do before you purchase a vehicle, or right after you purchase a vehicle, is do a compression test just to see how the engine is. So this compression test is going to tell us overall engine health. It's going to show us if we have worn out piston rings, if we have valves that need to be lapped, that kind of thing. This Blazer has almost 200,000 miles, and I can tell you for sure the last couple have not been kind to it. First thing we have to do to run a compression test is disconnect the spark. So we're going to pull off the air filter, and we can reach the ignition coil and just pull off that connector, and we'll be able to go down to one of the spark plugs and get set up there. So this is just a 10 mil nut, and it's hand tight, which is probably why one of them is missing, but we're gonna take that off. Take that guy off. Hey, air cleaner looks pretty good. And we could just swing this up out of the way here. There's actually just one 10 mil bolt that holds the rest of this assembly on, so we're gonna go ahead and pull that off. This metal band is basically a giant spring, so you're gonna have tension on that bolt as you're pulling it out. Just be careful so you don't launch it across the garage. And we'll pull that out and set that to the side. And then this whole thing should just come right out. And that's gonna give you a ton of access to all the spark plugs over on this side, and gives us a little bit more room to disconnect the fuel pump relay. With the air cleaner out of the way, we can get to all four of these spark plugs on this side really easily, and it also gives us plenty of access to our ignition coil and to our fuel pump relay. Both of these things have to be disconnected so the engine doesn't crank over. You could just disconnect the spark, but then you're just dumping fuel into your cylinders, so we're gonna disconnect both. To disconnect the fuel pump relay, if you take a look at this black box over here, fuel pump relay is written right there. So it's just gonna be these three weird plastic nut things that I think are 1/2 inch. Oh God. Then we can just pull this whole jimmy off. And this is gonna be our fuel pump relay right there. To disconnect the connector from the actual relay here, there's this plastic pin, and it's got these two barbs that you have to push in. So it takes some finagling to work out, but you can slide it all the way out. This connector should just wiggle on out. And that's okay for all we need. Then to disconnect spark, all we have to do is disconnect the distributor from the ignition coil right here. And we're gonna do that by just pulling off this top wire here. So since this is gonna be pretty hard for you to see, we have to disconnect spark plug wires from individual cylinders. And then we're going to pull out the spark plug and connect our compression tester. So to pop off these spark plug wires, we're doing the third cylinder right here, just because that's the easiest one to see. But we'll go ahead and pop that off. And this is a 5/8 inch socket. It could be different for you. Break that loose. So there's the first spark plug. I've seen better ones. The valve cover's leaking real bad, so that could explain the oil. So this is a Harbor Freight compression test kit. It works great. If you're on a budget, I would highly recommend it. Now that we have our spark plug out, we're gonna go ahead and grab the brass fitting that fits around those threads, just like that. If they roll together, that means you're probably pretty safe. What we're gonna do now is connect this brass fitting to this hose, like so, and just hand tight is fine. And we're gonna go ahead and thread this into the spark plug hole. Alrighty, now that we have that connected, we're gonna take the gauge, and it's a quick connect fitting, so push up, push your part in, and then it'll snap back down. And we're gonna go ahead and set that out of the way somewhere. Now that we've got that all set up, the next thing we wanna do is crank the engine over, and we're just gonna do this 3 or 4 times to make sure we get a good reading, and we'll check the gauge. So this first cylinder was around 120, which is okay. When we did the Suburban, I think those were crazy high numbers, over 200. With the engine having 200,000 miles, it's about what we expected, and the engine is cold. Typically when you do a compression test, you warm it up so everything's lubricated, and we'll do that after this, but doing a compression test cold can sometimes give you a better idea of how cylinders are performing. So we got that cylinder, that's gonna be this guy right here, so that's 120. We're gonna go through, mark all of these, and check back in with you. So we finished up our compression test. You saw us do this cylinder here, which happened to be the lowest one, of course. But the rest of the cylinders looked okay on a Chevy with this kind of miles. Anywhere from 110 to 150 is pretty average. You definitely don't want anything below 100, but we've seen numbers up as high as 180 over 200, and that's not unusual. On the Suburban with the fresh engine, all of the numbers were well over 200. So that's kind of what you would expect there. But what do these numbers tell us is the question. Well, 120 being pretty low kind of points to either a worn out cylinder, piston ring, something like that. And we can test that by putting a little squirt of oil in the spark plug hole and running it again and seeing if the number changes at all. What the oil is going to do is seal up the cylinder ring to the cylinder wall and increase the compression, or that's the general idea. If it doesn't change at all, it could be an exhaust valve that's worn out, something like that. We don't have any cylinders that are 40 or 50 PSI. This looks pretty okay. We've got some other maintenance to do, but other than that, I'd say this thing is about ready for 150 shot of nitrous. So if you like the video, like the video. If you want to subscribe for more, and we'll catch you on the next one.